into a pond, ripples fade away. Human hearts aren't so lucky. Those battle scars remain. Oh, I can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes, echoes of your ghost. Can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes, echoes of your ghost. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Ripples fade away. Human hearts aren't so lucky. Those battle scars remain. Oh, I can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes, echoes of your ghost. Can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes, echoes of your ghost. La da 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 da.
You and me, hanging from the willow tree, quietly drifting in the open breeze. Suddenly, the wind blows you away from me. Now I see we were never meant to be. If only we could travel back in time. Whoa, right where we belong. Maybe we'll never need a reason why. Whoa, dancing till the dawn. If only we could travel back in time. Whoa, right where we belong. Maybe we'll never need a reason why. Whoa, dancing till the dawn.
Hey, what's up YouTube? Today's build I feel like is truly extraordinary because it's this type of Wander that's not really played that much. I did find someone trying out accuracy stacking Wander on the forums, and you can find some nice things on the forums every once in a while. And I always thought to myself, with the 11 link wand or 12 link claws, that The main problem is getting enough base damage to scale all of these links, right? So this wand was recently made by someone, and it is actually a pretty crazy craft. Not quite as crazy as last league's wand craft, but still insane nonetheless that it appears like 2 weeks into the league. And I think the guy got really lucky with it, and he hit it within like 10% of the average cost or something, right? So truly a miracle craft. But the nice part about this wand archetype now is that this is actually an accuracy stacking wander. Most people do play in stacking wander, but this accuracy stacking wander allows you to have more damage than a mirror, like all mirror tier standard in stacking wander for a fraction of the cost, right? The build is still insanely expensive because you're using a mirrored wand and you have a squire, but the rest of the gear compared to like a fully decked out mirror tier in stacking wander is so little. And the build playstyle is so much more fun, as you can see in the highlights earlier. The attack speed literally feels like you're playing with a machine gun turret. And it's kind of like playing the tornado shot accuracy stacker, except with a wand variant. And the nice part about the wand variant is that the damage is so high on kinetic blast now, right? That you're literally Harry Potter with steroids. Like imagine if Harry Potter started a cycle of TRT or something and he could shoot his wand super fast because he's been doing some other things with his hands. Well, he's able to sling his wand at over 25 attacks per second, right? So Harry Potter on steroids is going to be the name of this build, otherwise known as accuracy stacking wanders. So let's get straight into why accuracy stacking wander is so good. So why accuracy stacking wander? So like I said earlier, with an 11 link wand, the most important thing is having as much base damage as possible so that you can scale it with all of the multipliers that you have, right? So you always want the base to be higher so the multipliers will bring it to really high values. And the easiest way to get a lot of flat damage is from two sources. Now the two sources are these boots Storm Rider, so it gives you 1 to 6 added attack lightning damage per 200 accuracy rating, or you can do Int Stacker, which gives you 1 to 6 per, I think, what is it? Let's see, 10 int. So with this way of doing it, we have nearly 70k accuracy with this build, and you can actually bump this up to 100k once you get good enough gear. So the boots roughly give you an insane amount of accuracy, 350 to 2100 flat lightning damage. I hope my calculations is correct. So basically, yeah, so 350 and then 6 times 350 is 2100. So basically, Awaken added lightning damage only gives you 29 to 543 lightning damage. So basically, this mod alone on the boots is giving us 4 times the amount of flat lightning damage. And this flat lightning damage is very comparable to int stackers, right? Like with that play Ascendant or something. But the difference between an accuracy stacker and a traditional int stacker is that accuracy stacker now can play as a berserker. There are some berserker int stackers out there on PoE Ninja. It's kind of a odd sight to behold, but I can show it to you, right? So let's go take a look at some berserker int stackers. So this guy is called Fear the Berserker, right? So there are berserker weirdos out there who play int stacker. This guy actually has pretty good gear in general. But you can see here, this damage is puny compared to the accuracy stacker wander. And it's not like these people are tanky either, right? They have 670 armor. They're actually probably squishier than my current character, even though they have a little bit more HP or a lot more ES or HP. So what this being an accuracy stacker actually gives you, it gives you the Berserker, it gives you 40% attack speed, it gives you 40% more damage from Aspect of the Carnage, and it gives you Berserk, which is 20% more damage and attack speed. But more importantly, accuracy stacker gains value from this one mod over here, which is Undeniable, right? Undeniable gives you 1% increased attack speed per 150 accuracy rating, and it gives you 500 beta accuracy, right? So you might be wondering, how much is this node actually giving you? So we can figure this out by unspecking our Forbidden Flame and Flesh Jewel, and boy oh boy, the damage goes down to 14 million, right? So this is what a normal in-stacking Wander would generally have, around 14 million damage on KB at the top end, right? But because we are an accuracy stacker, we are up to 40.4 million DPS on KB. And this is Kinetic Blast, which is something that's probably never been really done before with that amount of damage. So you can see here, 9.45 attacks per second, all the way up to 22.45. And this is without a min-max version currently. So that is why you want to be an accuracy stacking Wander. I do think that if you're trying to look for a build a Wander build to scale into the future, accuracy stacking Wanders should be the #1 build of choice for Wanders in the future. So now we're going to the question of, could the wand be better, right? So the sad part is the wand could actually be even better, as this wand was originally made for in-stacking wanders. So we only have around 278 intelligence. So this mod over here is not really that useful, right? So we could have the prefix mod of Socketed Gems are supported by lightning penetration, and this would make this a true 12-link wand for this build, resulting in around 30% more damage. So you can see here, let's bring this over, is that this one over here, the in-stacking mod is useless for us, and it can be replaced by the lightning pen. So instead of having to use Awakened Lightning Pen, we can kind of simulate this damage out by just adding an extra link here. And let's just put in like Awakened LA Focus for the sake of this. So you can see here, this link, although it's not really true, you would use this link, but you can use Cruelty, and it bumps it up all the way to 50 million. So it's like 30%, 20 to 30% damage easily, right? And that is just something that is a little bit harder to craft. It's around the same, since these wands are made by imprinting this mod and then using Aug Influence with Cannot Roll Caster. So if this build ever got popular, this wand would actually be the one, the true 12-link wand, and not the pseudo 11-link wand, right? So this is what I mean by the wand could actually be better, believe it or not, because the wand was not made for accuracy stacking wanders in mind. So now we get into the juicy part, right? Which is how much damage is KB. So in-game tooltip, once you have your frenzy charges and you have your berserk up, your KB tooltip is 12 million DPS, which is just insanity, right? Because 12 million DPS is probably more than any other KB character on PoE Ninja last league, right? And that's just the tooltip. And the actual damage obviously is a lot higher because it doesn't factor in dependent and everything else. So the pop DPS for KB is roughly 43 million currently, which is just batshit insane. 43 million is probably roughly almost double of what standard people is with all legacy mirror gear. And this is with the standard wand that has like in-stacking mod, spell damage per 16 int. So you can see with this setup, the accuracy stacking wander completely blows away any previous wander in the past, right? And the funny part is the gear is honestly not that expensive, right? And that is the main thing I think that is a huge part of this equation, is that compared to traditional wanders, in stacking mirror tier wanders, it is really not that much. You have the wander, you have the squire, you have obscurantis, which is dirt cheap. You have the replica shroud, which is like 5-6x. You have Oscarms, which is 1x for this, or maybe 10x if you don't need the attack crit in this case. Bunch of Abyss Jewels, which is like not the craziest amount. The boots are like 50x siege. Marilyn's Fallacy, which is pretty much free. And then the precursors are obviously very expensive, and Mage Blood is very expensive. But you're talking about comparing a character with tens and 20s of mirrors compared to this one, which is I think around like 5-6 mirrors. So in terms of value, this character provides value compared to a traditional mirror tier instacker, right? And it's not really that much squishier because we actually have some armor and we're running some defensive auras. So what are the notable items for the build that I had to buy? So notable items for the build I had to purchase in changing this character from my accuracy stacking tornado shot to wander is I had to buy a squire for the 3 extra links for the wand. I had to buy a new obscurantis, which has the berserk buff effect because I no longer need tornado shot secondary additional projectiles. I needed to buy a Marilyn's Fallacy for insane crit multi since we're way over crit cap. So you can see here we have this wand. This wand actually has crit strikes in it, so if we take off Marilyn's Fallacy, we're way over the crit cap, and Marilyn's Fallacy lowers your crit chance. But since we have so much crit chance because of Oscarm and the gloves, which gives you accuracy crit per accuracy rating, we end up being way over the crit cap, so we can use Marilyn's for the sweet 240% multi, and multi is insane. So yeah, one of the big problems with Wander is a lack of being able to get a lot of multi a lot of times because you don't have access to elemental damage multi nodes on jewels, right? But otherwise, the build besides those changes is nearly identical. I didn't really switch that much stuff up or min-max it because I didn't buy Abyss Jewels of wand damage nodes. So the only difference is the pathing. You path upwards to the wand accuracy nodes and taking the lightning damage penetration nodes on this side here. If you look at this pop right now, we go all the way up over here. This allows us to get enough int for the imbued wand, and we're still using this unnatural instinct. and where you do use split personalities with accuracy and int. And we pretty much go over here because these nodes are pretty good. Attack speed, accuracy rating, attack speed, accuracy rating, attack speed, accuracy rating, and then attack accuracy rating 30%. So pretty big and pretty useful nodes. And we do take this thing here, which gives us more pen, arcing blows, and some lightning damage on the way. There is some merit to maybe dropping one of the split personalities and using a thread of hope still and taking these nodes. Could be better because you could technically drop these nodes over here, which is only 8% pen, and get these ones. But overall, lots of different stuff you could be doing with the build. And this tree is very ugly, right? It's a very long pathing tree. I do still have the triple brutal restraint setup. And we do still have some base amount of spell suppression, but not as much as before, right? So, but I do think that you can fix the spell suppression in the build if you just drop some damage on the tree, and then the character would be relatively tanky, right? But the character actually is tankier, as you'll see later on why it's actually tanky, right? Is right now. So build review, hands down, best simulacrum farmer I've actually played, and that's saying something because I tried Venom Gyre out, I tried a bunch of different skills out. This is probably the only build that I played that could get back-to-back 7 rewards, and you could even get 7 rewards on one boss. Most of the times people get 7 rewards, it's always with 2 bosses, but this build does so much clear because KB is just a clear speed monster, right? And it was able to get 7 rewards on just one boss. And I do know yesterday I said it was my fastest Maven kill ever on Tornado Shot, but this build actually did it slightly faster. I don't know if it's because I found out this new tech in that you can actually switch over to Tornado and use Frenzy. So like last time I was doing this, I had some trouble getting my Frenzy charges up. So now you can just use Tornado and shoot the Tornado and you'll get all the way up to 7 instantly. And that allows me to do a bunch of damage at the start, right? That I normally would never be able to do. So pretty cool discovery. So you can start the Maven fight with 7 Frenzy charges. We saw in the beginning of the video, you'll see that I actually weapon swapped Tornado and shot Frenzy in between all of the memory games. The build is also a lot tankier than the accuracy stacking Tornado Shot because you get 30% block on the Squire and you also get Fortify, right? So you can link Shield Charge with Fortify, and then Squire has 30% block and it also has a decent chunk of armor. So much tankier. It is able to do simulacrums a lot easier. I've done multiple ones with 1 death or only 2 deaths at most, while Tornado Shot was a real struggle. And build also feels a lot more fun to play because of Shield Charge, which does not rubber band backwards. So I don't know why Whirling Blades always goes backwards, but Shield Charge feels like a joy to play. The mapping is a lot faster. That's the main thing about bow builds versus Wanders, is that bow builds have no spammable movement skill, and bow builds have no access to Fortify. Bow builds also have no access to block, right? But Tornado Shot is probably a superior skill to like Kinetic Blast just because it can be good for clear and single target. Although, if you do have around like 56 million KB damage or even 75 million, I do think you can do all content with just KB, which is the true, I think, endgame dream of all Wanders, right? So, like I was saying, having the ability to use only KB is the biggest game changer in Wanding history, right? And this build has the potential to reach 80 mil plus KB DPS and 400 to 500 mil power siphon with precursors in the right Abyss jewels. So if you look at my current profile, right, a lot of my jewels don't have any wand damage. It's light bow damage, bow damage, bow damage. So most of the things are bow damage because I prioritize bow damage, right? And I was in a wander. I also don't have an additional Curse Merlin's Fallacy, and I could get LE weakness on these gloves. So there's a lot of different upgrades I could do. These flasks probably aren't ideal anymore for Wander. So the endgame goal is to eventually maybe get this number to 90 to 100 million, and then you could use your KB for everything. I know last league I did advocate using a weapon swap with 2 12-link wands, but that's just kind of unrealistic for most people. And I do think if the right wand was made and you min-max your gear, you could do all content instantly with KB. You would have the best simulacrum farmer in the game. You would have amazing single target. You would have really fun to play because 25 attacks per second Wander is a breathtaking sight to behold. It's like you're playing a machine gun turret, except what you're shooting out is so pretty because of Celestial KB effect. Now, the question is if this Wanderer archetype is better than traditional Instacker, and in my opinion, it blows it away. It is not even comparable. Defenses are nearly identical because Instacker literally has no armor and stuff like that, although you could fix it with Mage Blood technically, and Instacker would be tankier. But you just can't beat the damage and you can't beat the attack speed that you get from a Marauder and Berserker. And if you can do simulacrums like almost deathless, then more defenses doesn't really matter, especially a soft core where you're just trying to complete stuff as fast as possible and play builds that do as much damage as possible, right? So this is pretty much all of us here looking at the wand and thinking about accuracy stacking, right? We're staring into the heavens looking for inspiration. We finally found it. And this is Chris Wilson over here seeing what we're doing. And he's going to nerf the wand. He's going to nerf Squire. He's going to nerf it all. He's going to burn it all to the ground, right? But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope that accuracy stacking Wander actually catches on because really fun to play. Much cheaper to min-max than a traditional instacker and actually much, much better while dealing around almost twice as much damage. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalts, and Mage Bloods than me, and see you next time. Bye.